all have good days, bad days, and days when we're not so sure. No matter what kind of day you're having, take MindNation with you so that good days become great, bad days become better, and so-so days become super. Get the care you need by connecting with experts in as fast as 2 minutes. Grow in your mental health journey through specialized programs just for you. Learn more about yourself and how to thrive so that every day is closer to a better mind, better you. Download the MindNation app now. Available on Google Play and the App Store.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. It's Wednesday night. I know it's not the last Wednesday of the month, but we have a special event in the BDJ Studio Learning Series next week. It's because next week we are launching our 2023 planners. I know it's September, and as you guys know it, in 2023, usually the next year we usually launch it around end of September, so para at least we all have the time to like plan out for the following year. So we moved our BDJ Studio Learning Series with Mind Nation this week. And this is because it's super important for us that we'll be able to do this with you guys, check in with you guys every month. And it's really a commitment that we have in BDJ and Mind Nation. And so without further ado, I will bring in my partner. I hope you guys missed her. She's back from her COVID sickness last month. So let us welcome my partner in crime, Kat Triviño. Hello,
Hi,
Kat.
Dar. I missed you and I missed everyone. The BDJ and the My Nation family. Oh, everybody now
Yes.
knows I'm a survivor.
Well, lahat tayo we're survivor. Kasi, di ba, minsan pa yung nangyari, nagpapasahan na, I mean, not, parang we were just essentially taking terms with COVID.
Right,
And just,
right.
di ba?
Yeah, so I hope everybody is safe. I hope everybody is healthy. This month is a very meaningful month for both My
Correct.
Nation and Belle de Jour. My Nation, you saw the posters earlier with amazing ambassadors that we have here and amazing advocates of mental health. We have this campaign for this, a special campaign for this month called hashtag Be the One. And this is something that we're promoting all throughout Suicide Prevention Month, which is this September, on our social media, our talks with our partners, and even our group counseling sessions. Suicide, it's a very difficult topic to talk about. And again, if you didn't catch the trigger warning earlier, we will be talking a bit about this during the course of the stream. So if it's not something that might be easy for you to hear, or if it'll trigger you, it's okay to step out a bit, come back when you're ready. Meron naman tayong team replay
Correct.
according to
Correct.
Dar. But
Yes.
it's a very meaningful month for everyone, and I hope that we can help raise awareness for this. It's a very complicated and tragic event, but not
Mhm.
many know that it's also preventable. I say this with experience also in it, both in a very close friend of someone that's almost like family to me at a young age, and also, of course, and not many know this, with myself as well. And it starts with the prevention part starts with each and every one of us, whether or not you're dealing with something, or if, especially when you're in a space to be able to help. It starts with you to be able to reach out. This month, we encourage friends and family members to hashtag be the one to take the first step in checking in on our loved ones. Sorry, may aftermath pa. Ano ko? Checking in on our loved ones, encouraging them to speak up, and especially when they're struggling, and directing them to proper help.
Correct, correct. So it's very important. I hope everyone, if you're open to this topic, we welcome you here in our live tonight. And we do
Mm-mm.
invite you to also share this with family and friends that you think who just might need to to just be aware of like what's possibly happening to other people surrounding us. Kasi syempre maybe there are things that we don't know about this, and maybe it's a good it's definitely going to be a good thing to know a bit to know a bit more about this, and that is our intention for tonight, so we can learn more about it, of course, with our special guests. So it really takes a village, as Kat said. This starts with us, but it takes a village. That's why we're doing this as a community in partnership. BTJ and My Nation, we're doing this together so that we can bring each other in and help each other out, and then help other people around us. So that's really just our intention.
Agree.
And speaking of having a village, syempre, we will bring in our special guest. So our first guest for tonight is Miss Eiza Fusingan, who is a Chief Wellbeing Officer and Lead Psychologist of MindNation. She's also a part-time faculty member at the Department of Psychology of the University of Santo Tomas, where she is currently taking her doctorate program. Alongside clinical practice and teaching, she is also a volunteer expert for the PWD community at Las Piñas. Let us all welcome Miss Eiza Fusingan. Hello, Miss Eiza.
Hello,
Hi,
everyone.
Miss
Good evening. Good
Sarah.
evening, Dar and Pat. It's nice to see
Hi.
you again. Yeah,
How are
So,
you
how
so
are
doing?
you?
I am feeling good, and of course, I'm happy for this opportunity again to raise advocacy and spread awareness regarding this very important and pressing concern that we have right now. So, of course, as Kat said, for this month of September, this is Suicide Prevention Month, and it is really close to my heart as my grandfather actually died of suicide. And for this one, I have a lot of question about it since I was a kid, and that
Mm-mm.
also made me actually strive to explore the suicide behavior, and that is part of my graduate studies as well. So I create research about suicide because that's very important for me. Yeah,
Okay.
so this
Is
is
that one
an
of the things
important
that
topic.
inspired you, Miss Aza, to take on psychology?
Definitely, yes, of course. I'd like to understand this behavior and also um, to create this awareness on how we could save someone's life. And maybe it could begin with each and every one of us right now, and of course, to our audience.
That's so meaningful. Thank you, Miss Aza. I will also be calling in our next guest as well, who will be joining us in our panel today. She believes in using her authentic voice in interesting and insightful content that inspires. Please welcome OPM singer and songwriter and mental health advocate, also My Nation ambassador, Adjeng.
Hi,
Hello,
everybody.
welcome, Adjeng.
Hi, it's a
Hi, how are you
pleasure.
doing? How are you doing today?
I'm okay. I realize now that the list of to-dos will always be never ending, but the breather that we need to have is that we can surround ourselves with people who love us and also cling to the faith that things can only get better. So I'm okay. Yeah,
Beautiful and very well said, Adjengs. Very excited to have you here with us.
same.
And the last but not the least, we have the Filipino actress, model, TV presenter, and the current Miss Universe Philippines tourism, and an autism awareness and mental health education advocate, Miss Michelle Dee.
Yay.
Hello.
Hi everyone, it's so nice to see all of your very beautiful faces. I'm so glad that we're all here coming together to talk about something that's so important. As some of you might know, I have been advocating for mental health and autism for the longest time because it's very close to my heart. A lot of my family members and best friends or whatnot have had experience in this. And September is actually, it could be a trigger for some people, but most especially, the good thing is we're spreading positive awareness on the issue. So I'm very happy to be part of this live stream.
We're very lucky to have you here as well, Michelle. And thank you for sharing your advocacies with us. There's so many in the chat box also that are saying hi to our guests today from the hashtag MMDverse. Did I say that correctly?
Yeah.
Yes, so we have Ken, Lorraine, Jam, they're all saying hello to everybody. Chuchi Ledesma is saying, I'm a huge fan of Adjeng. So hello to everybody that's joining us. Mira as well. Thank you for really taking the time this evening, this Wednesday evening, to take part in such a meaningful discussion. And if you have any questions, if you have any things that you want to share as well about this topic, feel free to do so, because we are in the spirit of, or in the time where we should really be talking about and normalizing these kinds of conversations.
Correct. So, napaka-important, like what Michelle said earlier, we are here to have a positive conversation on this. So, to start us off, Michelle and Adjeng, what does this month, Suicide Prevention Awareness Month, mean to you, and or what does mental health mean to you? To start us off lang.
We can start with
Michelle,
Adjeng.
you want to go ahead? Hey, I'll
sorry.
start.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, magic excited. So go ahead, Michelle. Go ahead.
Well, I personally, I feel like mental health is one of the most important things that we have to take care of for ourselves. So it's not just about your physical attributes, but you have to take care of what your thoughts are saying to you, because that contributes to your actions also. And when you're somebody in this kind of industry where you're put under so much scrutiny, you really have to have a good sense of self and self-worth. But of course, as somebody who has had mental, I've gone through a lot in my life, and I'm sure all of us have gone through a lot. And I've had to see psychiatrists, psychologists, and really just open up about what I'm truly feeling. And that's not something that's, I guess, relatively easy for anyone to just do. But because my family has always been so open regarding this topic, then the acceptance and the shame of it wasn't really relatable to me, because my family was very open and accepting. But of course, because like what I said earlier, I've had friends that had not multiple, but multiple friends that has attempted suicide. And of course, that takes a toll on you also. You have this, it's a confusing feeling when it happens, especially when you actually see the person survive the actual incident.
Yeah.
And that traumatized me for a bit, especially because I was very, very close to this person. But yeah, the fact of the matter is that person survived. She's well. She's so much healthier, and that gives you hope, because no matter what you're going through, you can always come out stronger. I've always said that in my personal experience, I love hitting rock bottom, because then there's nowhere to go but up.
How about you, Adjeng?
I love what Michelle said, that we're trying to normalize talking about it, because I feel that in my industry, in the music industry, we're also like in a fishbowl, and there's so many people who always have opinions of you. But at the end of the day, how you value yourself and how self-aware you are about your own weaknesses and limitations, these things are the very things that really help you to grow, not just as an individual but also as someone strong enough to also encourage others. I feel that, like it says in the Bible, in Proverbs, that once you refresh others, you yourself will be refreshed. And mental health is a huge deal for me because I feel that you can't pour from an empty cup. And
Correct.
to be able to fully understand the depth of your experience, you really have to learn how to ask for help. And I think that I've had to deal with that same experience of asking for help because I was quite fortunate to be surrounded by people who were very spiritually sound in their faith and grounded in their faith. And that also
Mm-mm.
helped me to kind of reach out to them when I had questions of my own. And because I asked people who were, I think, trained to really process the questions, I was also able to really learn how to ask questions now, to kind of draw other people to to feel better about themselves. And I think that since we're talking about mental health and suicide prevention, it's also a huge deal for me because last year I discovered that a friend of mine, a colleague actually, uh, experienced that and did not make it. And it was very, very painful to be on the sidelines, stunned and completely caught, flabbergasted, not knowing that it had come to that point. So this discussion tonight is very helpful, and I'm excited to be part of it.
I just wanna be validate what you and Michelle are saying, and it's amazing that you guys are able to hold space for your friends, your loved ones during this time of need, and at the end of the day, also be able to take care of ourselves. I think that's the very core of what we're trying to talk about and trying to do here. That each one of us, no matter where we stand, we have a unique role to play in the prevention and awareness of suicide. Which brings me to actually the next question, which is more on the details of it. Like suicide right now, and we've seen so many here, heard so many stories. Suicide is one of the leading causes actually of death globally, even pre-pandemic. And in the Philippines, the rates of suicide rose by 57% during the pandemic. What causes these mental health issues? What causes suicide, and what causes the rise, and what has caused the rise in recent years, Miss Aza?
Actually, with this pandemic happening, it made us grow into fear and isolation. And especially with the first 3 months of being in the lockdown, we are all fearful, and it triggers a lot of mental challenges. The change could actually create stress. And the thing here, pandemic is all new to us. So it
Correct.
triggers this feeling of helplessness, of hopelessness. And some people are thinking of a sort of escape to it. And
Mm-mm.
with these jobs lost, there's a lot of people grieving. It could trigger that isolation brought by the quarantine procedures, all these things that happened during the pandemic. These are all risk factors for someone to develop mental health concerns. But the thing here is, of course, right now we are in the endemic, as we mentioned a while ago. There are these programs that we develop after learning what pandemic made us develop, and actually the pandemic made us realize that seeking for help, especially mental health services, yeah, it's very important. And with the advent of teleconsultations, we learned that mental health services could be really accessible. So as I would like to affirm what Michelle said, so when we hit that rock bottom, we could rise up, definitely.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
So one of the best ways that we can prevent suicide is really knowing fact versus fiction. So let's
Mm.
unpack some of these myths surrounding suicide so that we can have our psychologist, Miss Aiza, and also discuss it together with Michelle and Adjeng. So one of the myths that I hear most often, I don't know about you guys, when we talk about mental health or like why people don't want to talk about it is because they feel like when we talk about suicide, it actually will lead or encourage suicide. What do
Mm-mm.
you
I hear
guys?
that. I hear that a lot, Dar, as well.
Definitely a myth. Yeah. Whereas, of course, when we actually encourage the person to talk about their thoughts of suicide, it will help diminish those fears that they have. And when we share these emotions, we could let them know that they're not alone, that you're there to support them. And it creates that kind of protective factor. And we also need to be mindful, of course, of sharing these suicide stories because we have this what we call as Werther effect or the copycat suicide. That's the reason why media stories covering suicide cases they need to be very careful with writing this uh, articles. So here we need to be responsible in sharing suicide stories, especially with the things that we see in the social media. We need to avoid writing detailed reports of the method,
Yes.
or as we mentioned, no, we have these content warnings or trigger warnings when we talk about suicide and not romanticizing suicide. You know,
Correct.
Romeo and Juliet story is still a suicide story at the end of the day. And not sharing posts of someone who's doing it. Please be very mindful of that. And also, when we see these stories online, I hope that we would take the role of reporting it. That's why we have that report option because it has suicide contents because it's not the right thing to do. It could trigger someone who's vulnerable. But instead, we could send stories of support and hope. In opposite to the Werther effect, we have this Papageno effect. It actually is promoting, the stories of survival. And, emotion could be contagious. So when we create that safe space where someone could be vulnerable, but at the same time reminding him or her of the alternative ways to continue living. So that's the best part that we could actually share, right? Like what we're doing right now. We're sharing this message of hope, which could empower someone to continue living.
Thanks, Miss Aza. Michelle, you've been a mental health advocate for the longest time. Has there ever been a situation where you kind of held back because of this kind of thinking or myth that it might encourage it? What did you do, and how do you, if not, in general, how do you discuss topics like this to a larger audience?
Well, I am a psychology graduate also. And the
Mm,
reason why I took up psychology is because there was a point in my and it's still a current thing, but I seem to be that person a lot of my friends latched on to ask for help,
mm-mm,
advice, or when something's just troubling them, they would come over just to have somebody there listening with no judgments,
yeah.
just no biases, no negative or violent reactions with whatever they're going through. And I think that's one of the most important things that we all have to learn, the viewers, is to really be aware of what the other person is going through. And of course, when somebody is, because somebody who's actually trying to attempt it or is thinking about it won't openly say it, and that's just from my experience. But what I try to do is I try to think deeper into the underlying meaning of what they're trying to tell me or share to me, and at the end of that conversation, I just try to make them feel that they're secure and that they're okay and that they always have somebody to rely on. And I'm not even kidding. I've had somebody like come in here 3 a.m., 911, talking about
Wow.
something that other people would just freak out about. And I had to sit there, stoic face, straight in the eyes, and react the
Listen.
way that, And of course, I'm very lucky to have the kind of influence that I had growing up. My grandmother actually dedicated her whole life to help other people. She started an inner peace foundation, and I think that's where I got that kind of empathy for other people and just listening to their stories and growing from their stories. And I take a lot of I take a lot of pride being able to help somebody get out of that rut that they're in. And in terms of speaking openly about it, I think the fact that more people are talking about it, the more that we're all not ashamed to share our stories, will influence other people also. That's the whole reason why I joined pageantry, was to give my
Mm.
advocacy. platform, a global platform. And that's something that I enjoy doing. It's a big passion of mine. And yeah, and we're here.
Thank you, Michelle. I think that it's such great tips, and especially you being able to just sit there and listen and be a listening ear and making someone feel that their feelings are valid and you understand them, even if you may not know where exactly they're coming from. The fact that they're able to vent or talk to someone about it without judgment is just as important. Which actually is question that we have here with
Correct.
Miss Chuchi. Dari, do you want to take it on?
Yes. So there's a question here from Miss Chuchi Ledesma. How do you start a conversation with someone who is suicidal or those who are feeling down without making things worse? Is there a correct way to jumpstart a convo, or do we wait for them to reach out? I feel like if I do the latter, it will be too late.
Miss
So maybe
Aiza.
we can have Miss Aiza and then Adjeng, if you can share
All
also
right.
from your experience.
So it's a good goal to actually reach out to her or to him first. And well, if we would like to open up a conversation, make sure that, of course, it's a private space. Okay, and of course, make sure that you would not be direct to the point, asking, are you thinking about this? So
Mm,
just let him or her share some stories, and maybe that could help spark conversation about what she or he is feeling. And you as well, you could share your own stories to just create that atmosphere that it's a safe space for you to talk about what you feel. So just let me know what you're feeling as well. And that could lead to spontaneous conversation in which you could pinpoint if she or he is thinking about harming himself. And from that, maybe we could move towards encouraging someone to actually seek help and monitor, of course, be there for him or her, and make sure that also you will try to reach out to a professional who could best help that person or that friend of yours. And that's the best thing that you could do during these situation.
How about you, Ajeng? What do you suggest?
I love that question because I feel that that's a question that a lot of us, want to ask. I feel that I remember I chanced upon a quote by an author named Andy Stanley, and he said that experience alone doesn't make you better at anything, but evaluated experience is what enables you to improve your walk or your talk or your performance. And I
mm,
think that that applies also because being able to evaluate, what the person is going through and trying to assess what he or she may be needing at the time. I mean, we can tap into our own empathy then and the compassion that we have for the experiences because I think when someone feels heard and someone understands that he isn't alone, that's a huge step in making in making you feel if you're the person who's going through the struggle, it makes you feel that I'm not alone in this and maybe it's okay to ask for help. I think that a lot of people refuse to ask for help because they feel they're going to be judged. I think that Michelle hit the nail on the head when she said that if we operate from a place of totally not judging someone and just being there to listen, I mean, that's a huge deal. I think I'm trying to apply that as well in terms of the word kamusta in a genuine
Yes.
fashion. Because it's easy
Mm-hmm.
to say kamusta ka na and not really look at the person in the eye. It's easy to say kamusta, but you're totally distracted. You're just saying kamusta as lip service. But when you genuinely take the time to say, hey, you know what? I have some time. Maybe we could, catch up and genuinely give that person the focus and being present at that moment. I think that's a huge step in being able to show the person you love or your friend who's going through the struggle that it's okay. It's This is a safe place to be. And I think I also want to touch on, I think, suicide being a part of a walk in the wilderness. This morning I was doing a devotional and I read that there were many, many people in the Bible who went through wilderness. And when they went through the wilderness, it was a good thing because they were able to, they were actually not just able to, but they were forced to focus on something greater than themselves. And I think anchoring yourself to your faith. I don't know what you believe in, but if you I believe in God, and I greatly believe that having a firm spiritual foundation is also key in being able to be a light to other people. And if you're going through the process of thinking all these thoughts, right? It also matters that the people whom you reach out to have that spiritual foundation. I think when you surround yourself with people who can actually genuinely look into your situation and speak life to you, that's also a huge
Correct.
deal. I mean, bad company corrupts good character. It's also in the Bible. And the wilderness that all of us are experiencing right now is still something that is normal during this pandemic, whether or not it's a wilderness after catching the virus or a wilderness you've had prior to the pandemic. All of us are going through a struggle that no one knows about. So the genuine message of being kind will always apply in this situation.
Beautifully said, Adjeng. And I think harping on, even no matter what you believe in, but for like that spiritual stronghold that you have in you, whether that's of course your religion or just having that sense of purpose will help you move forward as well. Now, all of these tips that we're sharing are so amazing and so meaningful, but it could be easy, and I say that with air quotes because it's never easy. It could be easier to be able to practice that and be there for someone who shows clear signs, right? Or especially when they verbalize it, right? What if, and this is a question coming from Ken Caballero, how will you know if a person is suicidal, especially those that are not showy when it comes to that matter? Because some of them, and it could be true, they're really just quiet and contemplating and thinking to themselves. We can start with Eiza, and maybe Michelle, you can add to this as well as an advocate.
All right, so this is actually the first part with the suicide first aid, no? The look
Yeah.
part. So we need to look at the warning signs, and 50 to 70% would actually show warning signs. It's not that they just do it impulsively. We could see the behavior patterns, and these are the indicators of possible suicide attempt. And as someone who's very observant, it's really helpful, and we could help that person to actually seek for help when we spot these warning signs. So what are some of the warning signs? First, when someone is actually posting about suicide ideation, we need to actually reach out for them. Yes, they're wanting that attention. Or maybe someone would joke about, I want to end my life. It's a joke, a harmless joke maybe, but it could tell that they are contemplating about it. Some would
Mm.
actually just give out their priceless possession, and others, they would have reckless, impulsive behavior. Some would also try to isolate themselves. So there's that drastic change in their behavior patterns. And if you know that your friend has history, this is a big risk factor for someone to have attempted or complete or would complete the suicide if they have the history of hurting themselves. So we need to watch out for these signs. And actually, for those who are engaging with non-suicidal self-injury, they don't have initially that thought of ending their life, but they feel better when they hurt themselves. So they would have cuts and all these bruises. That's also one of the risk factor. So there's a lot of warning signs, and I hope that as a friend, we would be able to spot this. And of course, try to listen and link them to the professionals.
Correct.
Thank you, Ms. Eiza.
So, how about you, Michelle? What do you think about
I
this?
love what Miss Aza just said because it is all about the trigger signs. It's hard to tell if somebody's suicidal just from meeting them. If you don't know the person, you can't tell if there's a personality switch
Yeah.
or anything. That's why it's so important that you, as somebody watching or as somebody who might have that kind of friend, just be open and really ask, "How are you?" Personally, I'm actually an introvert, but I keep tabs on all of my friends. Like I'm always saying, "Hey, how are you?" I'm just checking up on them, and that's proven to work for me because, they're more open to me. They don't feel like they have to hide anything. But it's really true what Miss Asa said, because with the experiences that I've had with the people that have attempted suicide,
Mhm.
you really do see those triggers. Whether if it's a person who has existing depression already, or somebody that just out of nowhere disappears, no matter how many times
Mhm.
people try to reach out and reach out and reach out, that for me isn't a sign of, what, we're not friends anymore. But
Mm.
that's just a reason for me to reach out even more and try even harder. And that's something that I hope all of us, especially the viewers, take into account also, that, there's a lot that goes on in human connection. And if we're open enough and selfless enough to see that, then we can change other people's lives. I think
Correct,
some
correct.
people don't understand how powerful human connections are and how much we crave for that. And yeah, it's really just about being selfless.
Correct, correct. Actually, this is actually myth number two for everyone watching us today. So one of the myths that is prevalent regarding suicide is that suicide attempts happen without warning, or to those who will never do it again. So as shared with by Miss Aza earlier, 50-70% of the people actually show signs. And as shared by Michelle, it's very important that we're very present too with the people that we love. Like parang we notice them, we pay attention, especially kasi 'di ba, we love the people around us. So the people that who matter to you, please do take the time to pay attention with them to them. So myth number three. So we have this third myth. If a person is serious about killing themselves, there is nothing else. There's nothing that we can do. What do you think about this, Miss Aza?
Actually, this is the major myth that I want to debunk as we raise this advocacy for this month to be the one. So, for someone who's thinking about taking their own life, be reminded that suicide is not and should not be a way to actually alleviate that pain. There are many treatments out there. May it be just consulting with a counselor, talking to your psychologist, and of course, reaching out to a psychiatrist. I'd like to empower you that you have a choice, and I hope that you would choose to continue living this life. And for those who doesn't have any suicidal tendencies, but you know someone who's struggling, I hope that you would choose to save a life with that kind words. And that's why we have this Be the One campaign. We are encouraging someone and everyone here to be the one to actually raise that awareness and help someone who's struggling. Suicide is not actually a helpless case. Everyone is capable of extending that message of hope, care, and compassion. And I hope that for this month, it will empower you to actually help someone. Be mindful with all these actions, and of course, reach out, create conversation, and also try to link them again to the right professional for more help.
That's beautiful, Miss Aza. Ajeng, do you wanna add to that?
Well, I personally feel that being kind is really the step, because I feel that, of course, it's easy to be kind to people we love, but it's also a difficult thing to be kind to people who are unlovable. But it's really a huge thing for us to do. I feel that those people who are not so kind, I mean, hurt people hurt people.
Or,
I mean,
yeah.
that statement
Mm-hmm.
speaks a
Mm,
lot, because I feel
Mm-hmm.
that I've come across so many people who, in the beginning, were standoffish or they were kind of moody. And then I
Yeah.
realized that it's easy to be reactive and say that, okay, so if you don't feel like, talking, then, and then you leave. But instead of responding that way, I've tried a certain tactic over the pandemic, that when I would encounter people who would be a little bit more, moody and all that, all the more I would try to imagine that they are coming from a place or a battle that I know nothing about. And when you think that the person you're talking to is going through something you don't know anything about, there's that window to be more compassionate. There's more openness in your heart to say that, you know what, I know what you're going through, but maybe you might want to talk about it. And then when people start seeing the genuine, I keep using the word genuine because it's so crucial. When people see
Correct.
the authenticity of your intentions, they really start opening up genuinely. And sometimes they just burst into tears in front of you when you actually look into their eyes and say, "Oh, you know what? I've been through a similar situation." Because, and you don't really have to try to say that if you really hadn't experienced it. But if it's
Correct.
something in your heart that you feel that you want to relate even better, and you can use that experience. I think that all of us go through pains because we're going to be channels of empathy to the person. Sometimes, well, and if I may expound a little bit, I went through a miscarriage several years ago, and I was on the receiving end of insincerity and insensitivity because I was nursing a broken heart from that experience. And then I actually came across someone who actually told me, "Oh, but that happened when that your child was still really little, right?" And I was just blown away, thinking that, oh, I it kind of made me shut down because I was already trying to open up, and maybe the person did not know exactly how to react.
Correct.
Instead of
Correct.
being
Yeah.
reactive, yeah, I mean, I don't know, I didn't want to blame anybody, but at that point, I could have easily reacted in a bad way. But it turns out that even though I was the one who was grieving, I still took the time to say, "Oh, you know what? Maybe this person doesn't really know what I'm going through." But I also made sure that I was, well, I also made sure that I would take a step back from that
From
experience,
the
and then
person. Yeah.
surround myself with people who can actually speak life to me when I'm going through something. Because I want to be the same person to speak life to other people if they're struggling. And when I did decide to choose key people in my life that I can truly be myself with and open up to, with no, I think,
No filter.
inhibitions, yeah.
Yeah.
I felt that it really, really paved the way for not only deeper empathy for myself, but also deeper empathy for others. So I guess what I'm trying to say here, bottom line, is that being kind isn't also about being kind to others, isn't just about being kind to others, it's also being kind to yourself and protecting your headspace. Because, yeah, that's a big deal for me also in reaching out to others.
How
Beautifully
about
said,
you, Michelle?
Adjeng.
No, I love what Miss Aiza and Ajeng said, especially when Miss Ajeng was saying that you really have to put yourself in the other person's shoes and
Correct.
try to relate to that person as well. I often find myself just making sure that the person doesn't feel, you know, awkward around me. And ako na yung mauuna, like,
Mm-hmm.
something similar happened to me, and I'll break the ice first, and
Mm-mm.
Right.
it changes the conversation, and that's so important. Just really making sure that the person that you're talking to knows that you're sincere. And
Yes.
just to add to what I said earlier, and to touch on what Miss Aza said also, um, campaigns like this with Mind Nation and Diva One is so important because there are people that may have no one to turn to, and they might feel like it's the end of the road. But that's why advocacies like this are so important because they need to hear that there are options out there. And that's something that, we're blessed to live in a digital era that makes it so accessible for everybody that has maybe a smartphone or, you know, the kanya-kanyang paraan to see it.
Correct.
I
You
agree.
know,
Correct. Correct.
we just have to try harder to get that message across. And if we save one life, that's already an amazing achievement. But
Agree.
Yeah.
hopefully more, right?
Thank you, ladies, and Adjeng, thank you also for sharing a very personal story as well with all of us. It really means a lot that we have listeners also possibly that might be going through something very similar and very challenging. So it's very important we also are able to hear from that side na, and how important it is to be kind and be mindful of the words that we say and be that person to hold space for others. But we also understand that there will be sometimes that it's difficult to hold space for others, right? Because we're also going through our own stories, our own storms and challenges. And sometimes we don't have that capacity. So, in line with the question that also Chuchi is asking, she says here, it was mentioned earlier, we can't pour from an empty cup. What if a friend or a loved one comes to you asking for your help, but your mental and physical batteries are still low? You haven't had enough time to recharge, but someone needs you now na. What do you do? Maybe we can start with Michelle and then Adjeng and then we go to Miss Eiza.
That really depends on who you ask this question to, because
Mm.
other people really, really react differently. For me, a 911 call is a 911 call, and I'll be there as soon as I can. And if not, if I'm physically unable to see them, then I'll make sure that I'm available, or at least reach out to somebody else to make themselves available. And it's the root is, you don't ignore it. You don't just do nothing, because a life is a life, and it takes a lot of courage to actually ask for help. So that's something that I see and I realize, and hopefully our viewers see that too.
Right.
Thanks, Michelle. Ajeng?
I completely agree. Although on my end, I feel that there are certain days when I'm up to my eyeballs. I mean, from exhaustion and all these things. And then someone, I've been in this experience of someone wanting my help. And then I realized that filling my cup during the day, early morning, trying to set the tone for my day. This is just me trying to be aligned with my spiritual, growth, starting the morning with a devotional and knowing and memorizing Bible verses. This is a very practical thing that I do, which hopefully will be helpful. I memorize Bible verses that I write on the tablet of my heart. I write it on my phone. I copy it on my notebooks. And then when a friend runs to me and needs encouragement, I go through the Bible verses because I want people to turn to the Word of God, because I feel that it's not just about me sharing my own experience. Of course, it's a huge deal to be able to empathize in that way, but I point people to God also and pray for them as well. And in that little practical 5 minutes of sharing a Bible verse that I feel is appropriate for her or his situation, he actually would respond and say that, thank you for even trying to respond to me and leading me
Mm.
to exploring deeper, the word of God. And because of that, they realize now that it isn't just about running to someone and spending time. It's also about also praying and also turning in, trying to work on a relationship with the Lord. Because if you have a spiritual foundation, that's also something that can also anchor you to other people who can actually help you even better. So there.
Thank you. How about you, Miss Aiza?
Actually, it's really challenging, that you are the go-to person of most people, and then when you need someone to go to, there's, of course, like it's a challenge to find someone whom you could go to. That's why we're here. I hope that you would try to reach out to a professional, but then again, if it's an emergency case, we have this crisis hotline from National Center for Mental Health, and also we have MindNation 24/7 chat support. So if
Yes.
you are feeling so drained with talking to that friend who is struggling, maybe you could refer to our chat helpline, but then also try to monitor, this is the time where we could tap on um, friends or family members, especially family members who's with the person at the moment. And this is what we can do to keep accountability to this person's life. There's this breach of confidentiality when it's a life and death matter. So we need to inform the housemates or anyone who's with that person to actually monitor. And at the same time, you could also do your own monitoring, as what Miss Michelle said. So this is little efforts that we could do. If we are all so drained, there are people who's willing to, um, or actually more knowledgeable to help that. Kasi it's really intense. Like you cannot handle that after the long day of work, let's say. So leave it to the professionals, and we're here, especially with these emergency cases.
Thank you, Miss Aza.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much. So, we're closing to the end of our session for today, and we would love to hear like some final words for from our speakers tonight. So maybe we can start with Michelle.
Yes, thank you. And also, just before I forget, thank you so much for having me here. I really love spreading awareness on mental health and especially suicide, which is such a predominant issue right now. And to whoever's watching, I hope that you know that there's always somebody that can help you and support you and just be your the light at the end of the tunnel. It might not be who you expect. It might be somebody or a stranger that you just met, but there's always light at the end of the tunnel. There's always a way out of that situation, and you just have to be strong and find whatever beauty you have in the inside and cherish that, nourish that, and of course it'll also shine. And I just encourage everybody to stay strong and know when to ask for help. And, I'm cheering for you virtually. Hope I can cheer for you guys in person. And yeah, to Mind Nation, thank you so much for having me also. It's always a
Thank you,
pleasure.
Michelle. Michelle, is there anything or anywhere we can followers and people that are watching can catch you if they if where are you going to be next as well? If you want to plug.
Well, the life of MMD verse. It's quite chaotic now. Nowadays, like I'm just moving. I just moved today, like
Oh,
literally 30 minutes before I got back to my home base. But I have two shows coming October and November that I'm shooting. It's something I have to zip my lips for still. But abangan nyo na lang, it's going to be with GMA and another international streaming platform also. Kaya please abangan nyo. If you can, please also support my new business venture with Max Collins. That's driptherapy.co. We're talking about taking care of our mental health, but we also have to take care of our physical
yeah.
bodies. So if you need, IV drip infusions, we offer that 24/7 at the comfort of your home. And
Wow.
it really is the year of entrepreneurship for me because I launched one and I'm launching two more businesses by the end of the year.
Wow.
Wow.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Follow
Yeah.
me on at Michelle Dee everywhere to get all of the updates for that.
Abundance, and we're very lucky now. Amidst all of that and all the things that you're busy with, you make time also for such a meaningful mission within mental health and well-being. So thank you so much again, Michelle, for
Thank you.
being
Thank
here
you so
with us.
much.
Adjeng, how about you? Any final words, and of course, things that you wanna plug?
Well, first of all, I want to share with everyone that I truly appreciate Mind Nation for making me their first musician ambassador. It is a blessing to be able to spread awareness, not only about suicide prevention, but also about normalizing mental health awareness and talking about it. And yeah, I just want to share and I want to speak a blessing over everyone who are watching right now because I keep talking about my faith and I want to completely just declare a promise from God before I carry on. It's Jeremiah 29 verse 11. For I know the plans I have for you, says the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you a hope and a future. And He says, you will seek me and you will find me if you seek me with all your heart. So I want to declare that verse over everyone who are listening, as well as my fellow, of course, my fellow guest, Michelle, and of course, Miss Aza and Kat and Dar. Thank you so much for the opportunity to share insights about this advocacy. It's a blessing to be an artist because I've always wanted to be a musician on a mission and not just promote music for the sake of just having fun stuff to listen to or to expound on my creativity, but also to have a deeper purpose to reach more people, to draw them closer to the Lord, and also to just make people aware that, we have a great life and it's a blessed life. No matter what circumstances we go through, there is hope and there is opportunity to grow and to enjoy the life we have been blessed with. And you can reach me, like you said, you had to give me this space to promote. But I have a song called Be Kind. It's out on Spotify, Apple Music, and YouTube Music. And you can stream it on all digital platforms. You can follow me on Facebook, just type Adjeng. And you can follow me also on Instagram, Adjeng VSB. I'm also on Kumu, Adjeng VSB. And I'm on Twitter, Adjeng Buenaven1. And what else? Yeah, basically there. And I want to share that since it's Mental Health Month in October, on September 30, my upcoming single, Kaya Mo Yan, will be out on all digital platforms. So in line, I mean, everything's aligning accordingly.
One moment.
So I think that Kaya Mo Yan will most certainly be a message that will also push what we're pushing through, what we're pushing rather in this advocacy. Kaya Mo Yan. And let's reach out and be the one.
Yes,
Thank you,
super
Jen.
beautiful, Miss Adjeng. So, would you want, so you mentioned like the song Be Kind. Would you want to give your intro to the song and maybe we can share it with our audience for tonight?
All right. I wrote Be Kind 9 years ago because I was on the receiving end of insincerity. And a lot of my friends were calling me and telling me in Filipino, they were saying, "Niniligawan pa ako nung guy na to?" Or, "Why am I being treated this way? Why are we in the gray area? What am I supposed to think? What am I supposed to do?" Because so many friends of mine were on that receiving end of being their emotions being played with. And at the end of the day, I wrote that song called Be Kind, saying that it's like an appeal to people that you should take care of the emotions of other people because we have no idea what battles we're going through. And I think that 9 years ago, that was a song just hidden in one of my notebooks, but it got unearthed in 2022 and it's still relevant today. So Be Kind is out on Spotify, Apple Music, and YouTube Music. I hope you enjoy it.
And here you go.
Always had this image of you inside my head. My lonely heart, it feels like it's hanging from a thread. You call and then you don't. You play games with my mind. With me, baby, won't you be kind? All they say about you is that you like to play, and the feelings of these ladies turn out like clumps of clay. You call and then you won't. Am I the victim this time? With me, sugar, won't you be kind? Won't you be kind? Won't you be kind? You never know if it's me who could be your only one, who can love you like no other. Can't you get with it, brother? Or else you'll be left behind. All I'm asking from you is to be kind. Every time I'm near you, each time I feel your touch. I never did expect I'd be wanting you this much. I fall and then I stop, don't know which way to climb. With my feelings, won't you be kind? Won't you be kind? Won't you be kind? You never know if it's me who could be your only one, who can love you like no other. Can't you get with it, brother? Or else you'll be left behind. All I'm asking from you is to be kind. I knew you were a player before we even met. Don't make it something you would regret. Don't create confusion, you'll be sorry if you don't do me right. Say goodbye to love, just say goodnight. Won't you be kind? Won't you be kind? You never know if it's me
So there. Thank you so much for
Wow.
sharing that super beautiful video with us, Adjeng. Your song, Be Kind.
Thank you, Mind Nation. Thank you, Dar,
Thank
Miss Asa, Kat, and Mind Nation family. Maraming salamat.
Thank you. And thank you to everyone who has joined us today, and to Michelle also, who took the time to join us and share her insights and her stories with us, sa lahat ng mga tumutok at nanood. And I hope you got something very insightful from the discussion. Thank you so much, Miss Aza, as well.
Of course. Yeah, thank you so much, everyone. And I hope that for this month, and not just for September, every single day, let us be the one to start breaking the stigma surrounding suicide behavior. There's a lot of things that we can do, and also be reminded, of course, other people's decision is out of our control. But at least what we can do, as the heartfelt song of Adjeng said, be kind, open, mindful conversations about it, and maybe someone's turning point could begin in you. So let's be the one to start this. Thank you so
Oh,
much.
beautiful.
Thank you, Miss Asa. So, Ajeng, thank you for this beautiful song. Miss Asa, thank you for joining us. And of course, guys, let us thank you, Michelle Dee, for also joining us for tonight. She just had to quickly exit as she had like another appointment. So thank you guys for catching us. If you don't know anyone who needs to hear this, and I think it's a lot of people or everyone, because we want to be the one and we want to be kind, because sometimes maybe you're not just aware of it, but maybe someone around your circle, someone beside you might just be feeling these kinds of having these kinds of thoughts, and we want to be able to support them. So with that, Kat, do you want to share more about our Mind Nation first aider
Yeah.
options?
Yeah, so for those that also do need help and need to properly link to the proper experts for any mental health concerns, like what Miss Aza said, My Nation is here to support you 24/7. We have 24/7 chat with a mental health first aider via our Facebook chat. All you have to do is go to our Facebook page, facebook.com/MindNation. You can book a psychologist, a well-being coach, or just chat with us about anything and anything that's on your mind, and connect us with the friends that you feel are in need or need that support as well. Thank you. I don't think we can say how much gratitude we have and how grateful we are for you all to be here with us today on such a very important month and a very important topic. So it's still Suicide Awareness Prevention Month. I hope we can take the time to learn more about suicide, learn more about the realities of it, and how we can be that person, be the one to be able to support and alleviate that stress and anxiety. Just to share, it's such a real and very close topic to my heart, because at the start of the year, I actually lost a very, very close friend due to at the start of the month, this suicide awareness month, I lost someone that was very close to me due to this. And even at the start of my mental health journey, I also lost my best friend due to suicide. So it's so close to my heart. And it's a reason why I advocate for mental health and well-being so much. And for the longest time, this was something that I didn't want to talk about, simply because I didn't want to think about it. I didn't want to address it. Such a difficult thing to be going through. But I realized, and just to share, the more that we talk about it, the more that we get to help others and make others feel that they're not alone in this battle, and that they can overcome the challenges. And we've learned that today with Adjeng, with Michelle, and definitely with Miss Aza, and also with Dar. So thank you so much for the opportunity as well to share and be here with you all this evening. Thank you, Dar.
Thank you. Thank you. Of course, we love our partnership with My Nation. And of course, we do want to check in with everyone watching us tonight. Thank you again, Miss Jeng, Miss Asa.
Pleasure.
I'd like to invite everyone as our last invites next week. It's September 26th to September 30th. we want to invite everyone to dare to dream again. Kasi nung nangyari nga sa pandemic, a lot of us has focused on the essentials, focused on just being on survival mode. Let's use our dreams to pick ourselves up. And with that, please do sign up. It's free. You'll see me there. You'll see Kat, and then we'll have many other guests also there every day next week at 6:30 to 9 o'clock. And with that, thank you guys. Thank you everyone, and have a lovely Wednesday evening.
Thank
Thank
you.
Bye.
Good
you. Have a
night.
great night.
Night.
Bye.
Bye.